Morning guys, this is my 4x4 piston door that I built with Avo. It's a 0.4 opening and closing. It's a pretty nice door. It's only 396 blocks, which is world record size for no input delay, so that's pretty nice. And yeah, this is the tutorial and explanation. The tutorial's over there. And these are some test bits that I put out to show some functionality of the door. As you all know, when it comes to the center blocks, for a 0.45 you need block event delay, and that's done with these various sliders. It all works rather neatly and conveniently. So this slider will be for the bottom pistons, bottom doubles and top doubles at the same time. And this slider is for the side doubles, which are here. And that's all very nice. And then this is just to show the neat bottom setup and top setup, I guess, for this door. That probably doesn't make a lot of sense now, but I'll explain it later on when I'm doing the tutorial. It will probably all add up then. Right, so on to the piston layout. You need 26 pistons and 2 obsidian. It is 12 long and 11 high, so it's pretty small, pretty compact. And it's a pretty standard layout, just the same as a 0.75 4x4 or 0.65, depending if you've ever built one. It's all the same, and it's the same as them except one little detail which I'll show in a second. So that will look familiar, but then we have these pistons here, which I'll show why we have them in a bit, and then the obsidian just goes here and here. Oops. And then door blocks, you just need 48. It's pretty easy. I'm just going to fill in these ones. So that should be your piston layout and door blocks. And now onto the input circuit. So these are the materials you need for that. You start at the bottom here with your instant repeaters, and these are so you don't get any. You don't have to worry about input bug for the rest of the door. It all gets smoothed out here. I should get a lever. And that's really nice. Oops. Because then you can have observers and everything and it doesn't matter. Right. Then later on we just take this line up, this input line up and around. This will look weird now, but it will all make sense in a bit when all the other stuff comes in, because a lot of this is interlinked with everything else. Just doing the other side. Redstone on top of all of that to reach everywhere, and then you need observers here or any other redirector that is, you'll figure it out, it's pretty easy, just any other redirector there so that you power these top pistons here. And as long as you just block these off here, you should just have these singles. Oops. You in fact don't. Oh right, yes. that is because you don't put those there. You put those there. That's right. And you should just put the singles in the corners. There we go. Nice. That all works. So that means we have done the input line correctly. Now, moving on to the blue line, the top and bottom doubles. This is where the door actually gets interesting and cool and it's just pretty nice, these bits. So before we forget, put target blocks here and here, and those will power these pistons when they are here. So just put those there before I forget, or otherwise I will forget. And then we will start building the slider, first slider that I mentioned over there. So that all goes like that. And then, whoops, I forgot glass. There we are. This is the slider. This will look fairly odd, probably, but that is because a comparator needs to go here, and then you can put any of these items in, any junk item, and that's why you need these solid blocks here. So yes, and then here you want to power this block when it's here, so that you can have a budded slider and it all works lovely and nice. And to do that, you will have a comparator here, a cauldron here, or a composter, or anything really that you can place rail on top of, because you need to later, and fill it up too, so that it will power this type of block. That is pretty important. And then up here, to power this piston at the right time on the closing, you have that observer and that detector rail to update it. You need a tiny bit of the yellow line here, and by tiny bit I mean that block, so that's all that. And then you need this. Remove this observer real quick so you can place a slab there, because you don't want to one-tick this line or it will break everything. And then that, and that. And so yeah, I'll show this slider over here. This will initially be down, and at 3 block event delay this will push up, which will get which will get this piston grabbing this block down, which is it does top and bottom at the same time. And then this also refires using that observer to give the last 0 tick. So when the piston is here, it will grab this piston block down to there, and when that piston is there, it will grab that block up to there. And that 0 tick will be at 6 game ticks, so the door is closed by 9 game ticks, which is what we want. And so, yes, now onto the top. This uses a pretty weird setup for doing it. This was a concept by Noodle Pandarian, and I just sort of nicked it off of him. But it was directional, and I fixed that, so that's lovely. So make sure this is a sticky piston, that will become evident quite soon. Leaf, piston, observer, and a block. And as shown over here, this is powered instantly by the input line. This piston up here will push down at 3 game ticks. this log is removed instantly. That's 1 game tick delay, 2 game ticks from the observer, so that's 3 game ticks. So this will start retracting at 3 game ticks, which is perfect. So yes, this is actually locational, because when this pushes across, it can do this instead of what you want, if that makes sense. You can do that, which evidently isn't ideal. You want it to do that. And to stop that being the case, we have to squeeze in an update here at 3 game ticks, and we do that using this scaffolding, which is lovely. Now this scaffolding, this block here moves instantly, so that's 1 game tick delay, 2 game tick delay using the observer, so that's 3 game ticks, so that will just update this piston instantly at 3 game ticks, which is perfect for what we want. Oh, I had them there, oops. You also want a tripwire hook on the side of there to stop this powering this piston, because that will break it quite bad. So that's nice and lovely and done. This observer refires this slider here, but you may know that this observer will turn on at 2 game ticks. And this slider hasn't stopped finish moving until 3 game ticks, so you need a 3 game tick update so that this piston here will do a 1 game tick pulse and refire. And you simply get that from this redstone block arriving here will power this piston updates this, which is being bud powered, and that will refire for the 0 tick later on. And now, on to the... here. Yes, so the reason we have this here is so you can have another comparator here. This comparator is so it doesn't accept the last 0 tick, because that will mess things up. And this rail is pretty neat really, because this will be off at the right time. So when this piston first grabs this block, this rail isn't needed. But when it's down here and it gets the 0 tick, it's being budded, it's not being powered directly. So you need this rail to instantly update it, so that can grab that down. So that's why that's needed. But on the closing, if you have that rail and it's not locked, powered, the input line will power this target block and will power these rails, and update this piston, and that can make it locational, because then this piston might power before this one, and that will break it pretty bad. So that's how we get around that. It's pretty neat. It's also used later on for the bottom singles. It's pretty neat. And you may think up here we need the same thing. Might need rail here or anything, and we do, but we get around that later. You'll see later. Right, now on to the bottom of this. You simply just need a redstone block on a piston there, and that, as you can see over here, is how we deal with that. So this takes 3 game ticks to retract. That will instantly extend from 3 game ticks. So this piston will retract to 3 game ticks and then get pushed across. That's pretty neat. And the entire reason we need all of this here is so if this piston was here where it would normally be, it would get an instant 0 tick from the instant repeater, which would once again break things pretty bad. So we simply get around that by pushing it out of the way. It's a very neat setup, it turns out, and it works brilliantly. So, now, let's just check. Yeah, I think that's everything for this, and I shall build it on the other side. And we can then move on to the side doubles. Any item in there doesn't actually matter on the signal strength, it just needs to be a comparator so it doesn't accept the last zero tick. Now on this side, we in fact do use a note block here. We have some other stuff here that means that it works. But yeah, just remember on this side to put the note block there, or otherwise it will break. Then scaffolding and the tripwire hook. Oh, and before I forget, put that in. I always forget that piston. Don't forget it, it will break. And then this neat setup on the top. Right, that should be all of the blue circuit done, I believe. If it isn't, then it will break and I will fix it. But that looks good. Right, now on to the yellow circuit, which is quite a neat circuit. It's all pretty neat, it's a pretty neat door. But this is what took me the longest. So we are going to squeeze in the last slider in here. Let's see if I can remember how this goes. And this last slider took me a while, especially with bud powering this bottom piston, or just powering it. It took some time. So to start with from here, this slider, so this redstone block will arrive back here at 3 game ticks, pushing this down, making sure these back pistons retract at 3 game ticks, which is brilliant. But for the closing, this timing isn't actually right, because this observer will push this down at 2 game ticks, but it's also bud powering this. So this redstone block won't arrive here until 1 game tick late. So we need those there, and those don't affect the opening at all, and make sure that these back pistons push out at the right time. Now here we need observers like that, and you might think they don't power anything, and that is correct. They are just there to update this back piston here at 3 game ticks, sorry, at 6 game ticks on the closing, you have to update the top and bottom pistons separately, because there is block event delay and it makes it locational. It can end up powering this top piston, but because they will be budded from here, it can power that top piston and this one instead of both back pistons, and you don't want that, evidently. So that is so that you need that there. Now here, this is a nice neat part of the door. This needs to be on 2, so when this pushes down, you get 2 signal strength that will go into that block and power these pistons at their forwardmost position. Yes. And then the entire reason this piston here doesn't actually affect this one. This is to get block event delay from this first slider to this second slider, and you simply do it like this. So this piston will be up, so that doesn't affect this. So this is free to retract as soon as this slider starts retracting. And then, so that's 1 block event delay, 2 block event delay, 3 block event delay, and this will fire. So that is perfect. And then to actually power this bottom one, you need this here, and that to be on subtract mode. That is an incredibly important part. Oops, that took me many days to figure out, and it was horrible. But it's actually kind of beautiful now it's there. And you might be wondering how this bottom slider here gets its block event delay. Well, from this redstone block retracting, which is basically when everything starts in the door, that's 1 block event delay, 2 block event delay from this piston pushing across, and then 3 block event delay. So that's nice and non-locational, non-anything, and it will work brilliant. Right, is that everything? This circuit's pretty minimalist for what it actually does, but that's because a lot of it comes from other parts of the door. I believe that is all of it, so we will build this on the other side. If you're wondering what these redstone blocks are for, these don't actually do anything in the piston door, they just lock these hoppers. So they're locked so they reduce lag, so it's more survival friendly. You don't have to have a redstone block there, but Avo made me put one there because he loves lag friendly things. So that's nice. And of course when the door is closed, which will be what it's like most of the time, this redstone locks it anyway. And this has to be a transparent one, this can't be a barrel, because of the 2 signal strength here. We'll go 1, 2, and that will keep this back piston here powered until 6 block event delay, which of course will break the door, so we can't have that. Cool. You need your observers like that, and like that. This piston here for the back control. And your block event delay to the second slider. Is that everything? I probably missed something. If I have, I will rectify it at some point. Right. And now on to the last and very small circuit of the greens, which is the top singles and bottom singles. So at the bottom, this was, well, we'll start at the top actually. So if I grab me a piece of obsidian, don't need those. We will see if the door works. The door doesn't need the singles to really work. So that's the closing, and that works beautifully. Oh, I just realised you need that there. And that didn't work, so let's quickly fix why that didn't work. This didn't power, and that is simply because we forgot our little comparator and make sure it's on subtract mode, or otherwise it will break. Beautiful. And that works perfectly. And you'll see this was late, and this side wasn't, but that's due to us having the note block here. So if I take away those, you will in fact see that it closes fine, and on the opening, these two blocks here will retract one game tick before this one, and then this one doesn't matter, we'll fix that. Now, it being unsynchronized really grinded Avo's gears, so he found a very, very neat solution up there at the top. So this line here turns off at instantly at the 3 block event delay, and this piston will be here, and so that means this piston will get pulled back to here, and that will power this block at two ticks, or sorry, it will power it at 6 game ticks, and no, sorry, 4 game ticks, and that will power these pistons, which are normally getting powered here at 3 game ticks for 1 game tick longer, which is perfect, and then this will simply get spat out again. Not from it powering itself through buds, but it will get, in fact, just 0 ticked when this chain happens. And if we observe now, that fixes this piston and gets these two in sync, which is lovely. And now your top is done. And for the bottom, we had to have some weird timings because of this. These two middle pistons, singles here, they push down at 5 game ticks, and the side pistons will push in. If you see, that was probably pretty hard to see, but these push in half a tick before these push across, which doesn't really matter. There's no real way around it. The animation doesn't look bad, but it does mean that to sync the bottom up with the top, we have to do this. So this will power this piston at 3 game ticks. That will instantly power this observer here, and that will then power these two back piston or bottom pistons. And this will retract instantly on the opening, and you in fact just need this piston here. Now this is some really bizarre timing that just happens to work. So this redstone block will actually be powering this piston until 3 game ticks, but we want this piston to push across at 2 game ticks. And actually this rail up here, because this slider will turn off instantly, or we will push instantly, so this comparator will turn off instantly, and this rail here then updates this piston, which pushes across 2 game ticks, 4 game ticks powering, so these will retract then at 6 game ticks. And that should be a beautiful 4x4 piston door done. Now there is no problem with filling the doorway, there are no buds, no nothing. I don't believe there are any buds in this door, there might be 1 or 2, but it doesn't really matter, just don't update things. So yes, so that is the current world's smallest 0.45 4x4 piston door with no input delay. It is non-locational, non-directional. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.